which seeds and starts would be early ones, as well as infrastructure for gardens, some equipment, tools, and so on for punching in gardens. But I've spent a bit of time putting together the document that you can see here, and it's a presentation of the idea of what I've still open to some of the wordsmithing, but proactive production-oriented food security program of collaborative city farms. And the document kind of starts by outlining some of the current issues and positive ways that this might be met with collective or community farming. The page here outlines kind of the production or the maintenance model and some of the production models as per a model that we were going to be test driving at Chuckanut Center. The big gist here is that a small team of garden mentors could be facilitating a larger community group. These community groups could be individuals or households. Basically anybody who's effectively quarantined together could join up and help with the ongoing management of 5,000 square foot garden space. The plantings would focus on staple crops such as squash, dry beans, and potatoes. There's a couple reasons for this. Just managing a garden remotely presents its own challenges, and these crops are well accustomed or a better fit for that than more sensitive crops.
Low water, low maintenance.
Low water, low maintenance. And then as far as the process goes, it would be sort of a small group getting together. This was designed pre-virus, so a few things would have to be augmented in order to accommodate virus protocols. But basically a early monthly startup or monthly meetups where people could be, even having a collective conversation like this about what's going on in the garden, and then allocating different weekly care, which would be shared by the garden mentors as well as the garden collective. And then, that would just be the full season of growing. Ran through this today, which is would be sort of a typical layout. My notion here is that one of these would be great, but multiple would be a lot more effective. So, kind of ran through the numbers of what a modular kind of piece would look like, and it might be a little different per particular site, but something along these lines of 50 feet by 100 feet, all the necessary materials of deer fencing, soil amendments, seeds and starts, irrigation systems, and so on, adds up to approximately $1,000 for a 5,000 square foot city farm. And then really rough numbers, but could yield approximately 12,000 pounds of local organic produce grown by the community and for the community. So this kind of crunches some of those numbers. And then this is a quick little example of what this looks like in terms of the transition from open green lawn into veggie production. A big piece I think that for me seems relevant is the temporary nature of these types of installations, which the aerial photos kind of demonstrate here. This is a lot in the Birchwood neighborhood where we had planted out a garden in 2011. And then as we moved to a new location, we turned that garden in and replaced it with turf. And this is an aerial photo from 2014 showing the exact same location, back into grass. And so in the context of accessing public spaces and trying to use public spaces for this.
Trying to get buy-in from the city.
Yeah, the city or schools or whoever it might be, or a landowner, just making it very clear that this type of model would be, it doesn't have to be a permanent installation. So this is kind of a outline of the concept, and there's a bunch of different logistical components to all of this, of which seeds and starts and kind of getting the ball rolling on growing, the initial phases of gardening would be really, or getting the ball rolling on those would be really pertinent, kind of even in advance of permission or partnership with either the city or wherever a garden of this nature might land. As long as that takes, and if we're waiting for that permission, we're kind of losing time in the context of the agricultural schedule. So that was sort of what I put together, and then there's a bunch of different dimensions to it, but sort of looking for feedback and perhaps connections or people that we could share this with in an effort to find, in order to sort of realize this idea.
Yeah, thanks for that, Paul. That was awesome, and there's a lot of potential in that model to expand upon and augment. Maybe we can dive into, like you say, there is a time crunch that's going on with the seasons, and we're looking to hit the ground running, so to speak, on this. Maybe we can pull you into the conversation as far as help find, maybe look at ways to help her out with selling what she has, but then look at some options for maybe transferring some of the space that's there into a quick start vegetable production, seedlings of all kinds that can go out. Some ideas that have been tossed around is a start CSA where people can get their whole, for smaller patches, I've heard several people have planter boxes. I'm sure, there's a few people here that have that. I'm sure there's hundreds throughout the city that have that, and they don't know what they want, and that may fit into your model too, Paul, where there's mentors, and then there's people that have 6 planter boxes in their yard or 3 or whatever, but they don't have the knowledge to start seeds, or maybe they didn't even think about it until 2 months from now. So the need is to get starts going. I know the people that normally do starts, they're already selling out of a lot of stuff. So there is a demand there. And I think the demand will only grow as this becomes more obvious on people's radar.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Who is that you're referencing, Brian?
As to starts running out?
Yeah,
or,
just out of curiosity.
Well, I've heard people that have tried to get stuff at Joe's. Sunseed Farm, I know it's one of the main organic starts person. And they told me last year they were running out of stuff. So their main market actually is in the Skagit Valley Co-op. He said is his biggest market, but Belllingham market is big too, and then he does Anacortes and other places. So we definitely need more producers on the starts end of things.
Right. Bizu?
Yes.
Would you like to jump in and maybe talk a bit about what you had in mind to offer the community? And we can also talk about what Jordan Stambauer was supposed to be here, but I guess something held him up. But he does online marketing, and he and Bizu we've had a meeting online to see how we could move out her existing inventory, but I'll let her speak about that.
Oh my. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. For me, at this moment, I'm with a lot of emotional situation, but I'm going to tell you my dream, what I was when I purchased this business. I am, as you know, from Ethiopia, and I was thinking after 3 years, I purchased the business 2018, and 2021, I was thinking to start some nonprofit with community and to start some vegetable and herbs. And for me, it's learning and at the same time taking some a group of people to teach about Ethiopian people. And I start with some of, so I think Paul, he knows that I start some to be a partnership to do that for our community, as well as, you know, to do the vegetable and herbs, and to continue working like that, and in the future to establish some nonprofit or something. That was my desire. But this year, I was working aggressively and I spent a lot of money and a lot of loan, and we had a bunch of plants, flowers, and herbs in our place. And I was looking a way that how I can sell for the community, because a lot of cancellation because of the situation. If there is a way that I can sell for our community and give the space, and I don't know in the future how it's going to work. We can talk a little bit, but I'm very happy that if we can grow some vegetables and herbs and the community can buy, and we can also help community. Even I was offering this with my lawyer and everything to give for employee profit share or employee owned business. I was thinking to give up that way next year, and if there is a way I can just pay the mortgage and I can give for the community. For me, the big benefit is to get education, to have a healthy vegetable and herbs, and I have a little bit education, a background, the understanding of herbs, and I believe for home remedy, for some of the organic food and green, that kind of interest I have. And the for the benefit what I get from Americans people, they give me a lot of opportunity, and I never forgot from where I came from and how I can give it back to my community. I have this kind of heart. But now, come coronavirus, at this moment, I don't know what I'm thinking, but if there is anything we can help our community, and if we can give up one of greenhouse or two greenhouse, or if there is a way understanding your vision, what you're going to do exactly, I'm willing to work with you guys. This is what I can say. But at this moment, I was talking to Jordan, if we can, there is a way that I don't want to see that the plant even dying on greenhouse. I just want, if we can sell, if we can do good marketing, if we can sell the community for these plants, and we can turn right away to vegetable and herbs. I believe it, and I'm not looking for much profit for that. Yeah, this is what is in my heart. But I don't know who is the right person working with me and this kind of thinking I have. So I met Bern, and she told me that to meet this group, and we'll see what's going to happen next. So this is where I am. As you know, that emotionally and things, it's really at this moment, it was really hurting me. But it's not only me, the whole people, and this is a life issue. I'm trying to calm down, but at the same time, there's a lot of plant in greenhouse. It's worth more than 700,000. So I don't know how I can sell this one. This is my first priority. And the second, if we have a group of people with a good proposal, or if there is something we can do, if we have some right plan, I'm willing to work with our community together with you. This is what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Bizu.
Thank you.
There's a lot to
Thank
think
you.
about there. You've put a lot on the table.
Well, I hope you get understand my accent.
Yes, thank you so much, Bizu. You speak
I
good
hope Paul
English.
will interpret for me, my neighbor. And Jane.
Thank you. We understand you clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking, Bizu, are you in touch with anyone from Sustainable Connections? They may be able to help also.
Yeah, I did contact Sarah, but at this moment, I didn't contact her these 2 weeks. I was focusing with another job, so I didn't contact it to her, but I may, because usually every year, the month of May, they do sell. But I don't know now if they're gonna do that and if they continue doing it because of the situation where we're dealing. But I may contact her again, Sarah.
Yeah, they may be a good resource.
Okay.
Also, maybe any restaurants that are still delivering through the food service, like the different delivery drivers, they may be able to help the restaurants to buy.
Okay.
Herbs.
Just an idea.
Okay. Thank you.
To buy her herbs. Okay.
Yes, to buy the herbs.
Okay.
Let's see. If I think of anything else, I'll definitely share too.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
I I was going to do a little more housekeeping, and the meeting just moved into itself. But the meeting is being recorded, and I should have really jumped in and said that. I also didn't finish my start of the meeting, but I will say what I have to at the end. So, Bruce, do you have some ideas as well?
Yeah, I'm just looking at and thinking of the permaculture principle of the problem is the solution, and thinking that Bizu, what I'm hearing is that you've invested a lot of money in product that is very difficult to sell right now, and
Right.
a lot of us are in that situation where kind of come to a standstill in a lot of ways. However, at the same time, there's a huge demand for vegetable plant starts. And I was thinking that if somehow we could couple up, if we could get a bunch of vegetable plant starts going and make them available by donation or for sale, maybe we could offer people special deals on your plants. If they buy vegetable starts, then they can also take home herbs and flowers, and sort of like get the ball rolling while there's all this energy of people who are interested in planting gardens. Maybe there's a way to link up this energy of creating community, creating a massive amount of food growing in Bellingham with also distributing the plants that you have. And in return for the help with that, we could, if you had space, we could use your facilities for really jump starting tons of vegetable starts, because you have the perfect setup for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's gonna be that it's gonna start? Now is everything is full. You can come and visit it.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that the 12 greenhouses that Bizu has are filled with inventory, which is mostly perennials, annuals, baskets, succulents, and herbs, and there is not enough space to start seedlings.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the horse before the cart problem.
Right. Well, maybe with this many people, we could organize a work party to help clear out your greenhouses and also start a real brainstorm about some sort of online sales or something. For me, what I'm seeing is a lot of businesses going online right now.
Yeah. I asked someone that to helping me also if there is a way that's online, or even if I can if I can find the right person who can help me with marketing. We can sell for community. We have truck we can drop even. But if we can do good marketing, probably the community they can buy. Also, if they knew that our future plan, probably now we can have a solid idea and we can come up with the right plan. Probably our community, they can support us, and if they know our plan, what's going to happen tomorrow, next month, or when. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brian.
I was applauding, so this is an applaud. This is like, yes.
That's right.
This is like, I have something to say.
Desperate.
Yeah, no, that sounds really good, Bizu, as far as like setting a timeline. And I mean, we've had a couple of these conversations, and we kind of, Bern has filled us in on your predicament. And, you know, maybe there's some local Kickstarter program where it's like, I mean, it would be helpful to know what your inventory of what you have is, because I mean, we're kind of shooting in the dark here, but herbs and flowers. But some kind of Kickstarters, like, here, donate so much and you get these free plants, but then you get money in that helps clear the tables that then can help start the starts. You know, I mean, say what the whole plan is. We want to kickstart these community gardens, right?
Right.
We want to be able to make it able so a household or a community garden patch or whatever scale you're at, you can have access to these plants in the near future and into the longer future. But we need this kickstart to get it going. And as a gift to you for the kickstart, we're going to give you these plants that are like, I don't know, some of them maybe can go planted outside and some of them are house plants. I'm not sure, but you know, so then like it solves two problems with one solution. But like you say, we have to have a game plan, and I think Paul is like got a nice framework for that game plan to come into focus. And that's kind of why we're here, I guess.
Yes. Kathy?
Hi, I have a suggestion. I don't know if it'll work because I know this is all about logistics, right? Of not so many people can go on the property at once because we got to keep the 6 foot, you know, social distancing. But what if people were, I don't know if it would be that people buy a $200 or $300 gift card and then they schedule a time to come in and pick out plants, and you give them a certain amount of time to get that amount of plants, and then that'll clear your inventory out and make room for whatever you're going to do, and then you don't have to take care of those plants anymore. But again, I don't know logistically how many people per day can you do, you know, and what price that you do, but maybe starting at $200 each. I know there's lots of people in the community that would love to support you and do this.
It's a nice idea.
Yeah.
That kind of sounds like continuing with your usual spring plant sale, but perhaps instead of running it all in one day, stretching it out over the course of 2 weeks in order to accommodate the necessary spacing.
Right.
And maybe have it so that there's some kind of lottery so that people get a number that corresponds with a time block so they can show up during the 10 to 11 a.m. block. Because there's also the parking issue every year. So, yeah, maybe it's not such it could be a positive thing to have people spread out to do their shopping and maybe start it a little bit sooner than the usual Mother's Day. Is it usually Mother's Day weekend?
Yeah, I think after Mother's Day weekend, that is usually we have a sustainable connection.
Yeah.
But now, if I was talking to a marketer also, I was trying to make it like if I do online or if I open even 7 days or something, people, if they want to come with the schedule, like 10 people or 20 people a day, if they are interested to buy after I set up credit card and after I set up the line, because we are wholesaler before.
Yeah.
If I set up this online and stuff, and if there are people is buying, we can make the schedule, and I can ask also the neighbor who's willing to give us the parking space, you know, before when people come.
Yeah.
And we can do that. And I have kind of this kind of plan, but I don't know about this now, Corona, how it's going to work and how we're going to do. But if you guys, you can help me. There is a lot of ways we can do this kind of strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't think the neighbor, you guys, my neighbor one, and across the street, he's always willing to do that.
yeah.
And this is a short period of time. I don't think so they will be against with the traffic or some ideas if we can make it with some period of time.
Yeah. Well, and especially if the flow is less and
Yes.
spread out. And so then, as was suggested before, yeah, it sounds like connecting again with sustainable connections and strategizing them, figuring out how the sale could still happen. And it is it's a staple of spring in Bellingham, so people
Right.
know about that sale.
Okay.
And Sustainable Connections as their marketing team, and all their connections. So yeah, so that sounds like it's possible that the sale could happen in this new, hopefully temporary paradigm where we're only a few people are allowed to be in a space at the same time. I mean, it's similar to how the grocery stores are having to handle their clientele, right? Where only a certain number of people can use the space at once, and there has to be greeters who are managing the flow. But it is possible, and I understand. I can see how in this situation the mail order stuff might be a little more complicated.
If I could just chime in, that all sounds good, but I mean, a lot of people are moving to just pick up. So you can post your stuff online, like what it is. People fill out a form. It is like your staff picks it out. They put it at the road with the person's name on it, and everything's taken care of online. There's no need for distancing or whatever unless there's a bunch of cars lined up. And then don't spend tons of time inside your facilities.
Right. I
just
agree.
like it's done.
Yeah.
You just pick out people's orders.
Joe's Garden and Cloud Mountain are doing this.
Yeah.
Inga?
I have an idea.
Yeah.
Also, Bizu, if you would like to send me the information, I can put it up on Instagram to local businesses who may need herbs or flowers as well. Just tell me more information, send me more information about it. And then I know there's people around who do flower wreaths or flower crowns or something like that might appeal to that sector of our community. Just an idea, throwing it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, I can do, go ahead.
Sorry, you were about to say something.
I was just thinking I will do this kind of thinking, brainstorming what we're gonna do, and also again with the plan we have and with our desire and community, if they believe that, if we can do what we're gonna do next, and we need the space, and if we can have with the solid plan and idea, and probably also the community, they are willing to buy and donation, and then we can do for the next step. And I can see there is a possibility to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So Inga, you said we could do something on Instagram?
Yes, I could put it on Instagram and send it to all the people around that I know. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just before could everybody add their email to the chat?
Yes.
Okay. But you go ahead, Inga, you were speaking.
Oh, okay, so I was thinking, so normally I'm at the Bellingham Farmers Market, and I know there's a lot of producers of salves and lotions and fragrances. I don't know what kind of herbs you have, flowers, but that might be a good market. So I could reach out to people who are I guess, not cosmetics, but you know what I mean, lotions, things like that. Might be a good resource to purchase your herbs and flowers.
Inga, it sounds like you wanted to know a little bit more about the product. And just to clarify, I'm not sure if you got this part of it. All the herbs are plants. Like they don't harvest herbs. They are selling plants and flower plants. So they're all in pots. So it's more for people to plant rather than a farm situation where they're being harvested. Is that helpful, or did you already?
Yes, thank you for clarifying. That makes sense. So they're all planted. They're like, can you give me an example of the type of?
Yeah, like rosemary and thyme and
Lavender.
Lavender.
That would be good. People make salves with lavender and rosemary and thyme, and that's why I was thinking about that.
Basils, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Another potential, and partially related but unrelated, would be Bizu, the use of one of your open fields as a potential pilot or demonstration of this type of garden model. I think if one of them could be installed and used, it might be an easy way for you to get some good publicity and kind of tack a story onto the whole other side of moving stock. And then also I guess I think there could be a couple of different dimensions to that, but growing food for some of your employees, showing what a model like this would look like, and then just kind of a way to start bringing a little bit more attention to the situation.
Okay.
And I think I'd heard through the grapevine that you had been considering something like that, and so Jane and I would be happy to have that conversation and talk about what it would take to turn a portion of those fields into some productive farm space.
Okay.
If you're interested in working with Tyler and any other people on your team.
Okay. You see, now with the situation I have, when I bring a team, and let's say I move now, I sold the plants and I have empty space. If I have with community, I'm working together, I have to know who is that person, as an insurance purpose and a business purpose. And if I have this group of people, who is that people? Is that their employee or their non-profit organization? Is that who are you? I'm renting the place, or I'm just giving free. This kind of things has to come up with the legal issue, because the bank owns the place. And I'm willing to do this, but I have to understand how it's going to be about the insurance purpose and the capital, how we can contribute together, or how we're going to work it, or this kind of detailed understanding I have to have. Let's say we are selling tomorrow all the plants, and the community, they are supporting us, and we sell all this and we have empty space. Then when you are coming Cascade Cuts, who are you? This kind of things, I have to have a clear answer for that. And we have to understand our plan and the things. I'm willing. This is at this moment what I can answer is, I'm willing with community to work together. I'm willing to give my greenhouse, for that purpose. Paul, that before I start was one person, I start to do some other vegetable, aquaponic, other stuff. I was willing to do that together. So I'm happy. I'm happy to work together, but I have to have the answer for this old question when it comes to plan, and who is this person and why is here. If it is volunteer, has to be some release form, insurance purpose, this kind of, you know what I mean. So this kind of legal things has to come clear, but I am positive if it comes with any positive plan.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's a couple different models to work with there, depending on, how you want to contextualize it. I wonder if it was a garden sort of made by employees and for employees, how much of that would be necessary, versus just kind of an employee enrichment program. How with any of the legal stuff, I often wonder what's the easiest route to avoid the paperwork. But then I also hear and understand the need to clarify the new, if there is a new model, even if it's temporary, clarifying the need to the bank or insurance in order to keep them happy. But there's a couple different mechanisms that could be used, and it's, the difference between doing it as a internal program for employees,
Okay.
as a neighborhood program, or doing it as a a more broader community venture, in which case you could potentially bring in a nonprofit organization. There's the one who's used for umbrella funding type stuff. Who is it? Sustainable Whatcom?
No. Sustainable Bellingham.
Sustainable Bellingham.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's potential vehicles for doing this. It kind of depends on how we would want to contextualize it. And I think
who Bizu wants on the property.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And if I might chime in, like this doesn't have to go from 0 to 60 overnight. This can start out slow. You can start a small, the idea, Paul, that you have putting a garden in there, it would draw a lot of media attention. It would be a good promo piece to help move a bunch of stuff and highlight what Cascade Cuts does for the community. But it doesn't have to go like 0 to 60 in a big thing. It could start out as a small employee kind of run thing, maybe with a couple of consultants that come in and help get it going. And then it can evolve from there. It doesn't have to be like this big, huge, great thing right off the bat. I think the main point is that we want to help you move your plants so we can get space on the benches to help grow vegetables and stuff for storage crops for the community, which will be also highlighting your business and bringing in more customers to support you through what I see might be, a couple of years of this.
Right. Okay.
So it can be slow in evolution. What we're trying to lay down now is just like some groundwork and framework, and then all the details and the legal stuff that can come out as it comes up as important to address. But I think this is a good first, start of the dialogue.
Yeah. And Bizu, I wanted to jump back to the concept of starts, because you were saying, who's involved or in your space, and so and different people on this call might have different ideas, but I think at least as I had understood it, was more were a group of people who were saying there's going to be increased, we're picking up that there's increased demand for vegetable starts because there's an increased desire for people to be gardening locally. And when I was thinking about Bellingham and new gardeners, because I do a fair amount of garden coaching, one of the obstacles for new gardeners is, or for new garden projects, even if it's experienced gardeners, is just getting things started from seed in rough soil or when you don't really know and how to tend to seeds. And so having vegetable starts is so helpful. And it actually had come to mind because we've been talking to Tyler, who's your manager, and
Right.
he mentioned that all the nurseries were slowing down or shutting down, and you guys were going to have trouble moving your inventory. And so I was just thinking about the sense that I was getting as in the last few weeks, as I've been moving around town, not in the last week, but and seeing new gardens going in, and even clients that I have wanting to, they have some vegetable growing space and they want more vegetable growing this year. And so that kind of groundswell that's happening where people are wanting to grow more. So wanted to kind of voice that's going on, which sounds like, you were already tuned into, and then also say, and then we are thinking about this other program where we're trying to find ground to turn into productive farm ground in the city, to grow more local food for people. And so if and when that is happening, we're going to need more starts ready to go. And so I think there's a part where it's not, I'm not saying I want to grow starts in your greenhouses. I'm saying it would be awesome if Cascade Cuts was growing more vegetable starts again, so that we can plant out more vegetables in town.
In anticipation of increasing demand.
Jane, I'm just going to interrupt and say, you need to introduce yourself because, you're on a black screen and most people don't.
Okay, sorry. The whole thing is weird, but yes, that was Jane speaking.
So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh.
Okay, so my name's Jane Campbell, and Paul and I live next to Cascade Cuts, actually, and we have our own little farm going. And then I also am a landscape contractor, and I do a variety of things, but I specialize in fruit trees and their care, and then also do a fair amount of vegetable coaching, garden coaching, install and care for clients around town as well. So, and Bizu knows that because I buy stuff from her. Right. So, but yes, other people don't. So my apologies.
So in fact, Jordan wants to come on now. He's just reached out, and he has got a proposal for using Facebook because he does that as a business, but he wants to pitch that out there.
Hey, I just might ask Paul, is it possible to shrink your screen so that we can see everyone bigger?
Oh,
so you have something else to, there we go. Now we can see everyone bigger.
Yep, sorry.
Help us with the Zoom, Brian.
We don't know.
I'm sure, I'm just barely one toe in front of y'all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure this out.
Oh.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Paul. That was great. I might just interject at this point and say, Paul, you did put that up as it's on a Google sheet and people can make comments to that, or how does that work?
There's two different documents now. I have a Google sheet that people can comment on or tinker with. And then also the PDF that I just walked through and that I sent out just before this meeting began, I put together really quickly in InDesign, and that one's more along the lines of or that's kind of my own document. But the other one is sort of an open source space to take ideas and
Maybe you can share a link to that in the chat bar.
yeah, I'll work on that.
That'd be awesome. Thanks.
Okay. While we're waiting for Jordan, are there any other points on this issue, this topic?
I just want to give my final idea because of the experience before I had. I just want to share with you. For me, now my first priority is by any means, I like to sell the plant, or, if it is damaged or something, I have to say the way, how I'm going to do with this, with the plant I have. But based on my previous experience, I was trying to involve someone 2 times, people to come in to work with me. And there was really the insurance, also at the same time, the banker, they were asking a lot of questions. That's why I just brought it this one. If we have a serious plan, if you are thinking, I don't know what is tomorrow, as I told you, at this moment, I don't know what I'm doing. I am just like everybody else. If it is probably Cascade Cut, I'm hoping have a great potential or great loss, or I don't know. I'm just have faith and I'm doing what I can do. This is what I am. I'm not so stressed or something like that. I don't want to think further. That is where I am right now, because this is a life issue with our neighbors and with the resident I have with the other business. I'm working with the retirement home. So I am a lot of under pressure than the other job, but here is plant, and I hate that losing this plant or something. But based on my experience, if really we can have some solid plan for our community, we can do something. We can think seriously how we can do it. I'm willing to do either way. If we can work, let's say tomorrow, if I shut it off, if I don't have employee, how it's gonna work? If I have employee, what is your participation and who are you and how we gonna do these places? That's what I just brought it in legal ways to understand, and we make sure that if we have some plan, we can be serious, and God knows what is tomorrow, but at least we can plan. Okay, we can sell to our community. We can have one of the greenhouse. We can grow this. We can make a difference in our community. We can think about it. And today is the first meeting, but you can think in better ways how we can really do it. Even I went to co-op and I asked them last time, you guys, you need to think about our community. We can build some immune systems, to make it high, some herbs, some vegetables, some greens, and I'm willing to do that. Do you have any other plan? I think today they have a board member meeting or something, but I request this kind of question. So I'm willing, I'm very happy. At the same time, I like to sell my plants. If I could, if I don't, I'm not worried very much, because this is now coronavirus. It costs somebody's life. So I'm not worried about the plants and the things, but there is a way for me. But if you are guys thinking very well about community, we can make some differences. That's what I believe.
Yeah. I say plants' lives matter.
Well, I'm working on retirement on people life and plant life. So I have to choose one at this moment. That's why.
The good thing is you're actually surrounded by community, and we'll take care of the plants. Exactly.
Please do that, yeah.
Seth Fleetwood just tried to get on, so he might try again. I don't know why it's hard to get on from the links, but anyway, so he might show up now. And then we could probably move to talk about spaces, public
Yeah.
spaces.
I'd just like to thank Bizu for joining us and all your contributions and being open to, I know some of this may be some foreign ideas or whatever, but we really want to just support local communities. I mean, there's so many that are hard pressed. They have to lay off employees or they're trying to find ways. Everybody's navigating it. And so, I mean, what I feel, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go about building community gardens and stuff. But I like what Bruce was saying is like in permaculture, you think, how do you turn a problem into a solution? And you have a problem of a bunch of plants that are not moving so well. Let's turn find a way to move enough to start transitioning into vegetable production starts. And that's all stuff that's yours to sell as a profit, So it's not like we want to take over a greenhouse. We're trying to show you a way to transition into a more profitable stream at this transition point. So it's not like some other entity is coming in that wants to run a greenhouse or no, we realize, and I have several greenhouses. I'm doing starts in them. I know other people are doing starts, but they're small scale. And so we're trying to provide just a bit of a vision as how we're all transitioning in one way or another in this crisis, because crisis is opportunity. So how do you surf that wave of crisis to come out on top? And so we're just brainstorming here. We don't have any like serious proposals other than here's a possibility, here's a possibility, here's a possibility. And together we are strong. Divided we are weak. And so we will support one another.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then Bern, you had a direction to go.
So I'm hoping actually Seth, if he still has the patience to check his phone and get back in. I was hoping he could hear Bizu's story. That's a good community story.
Yeah.
Right?
Likewise.
Let me try and call him.
Thank you, Bruce. For me, even if you have a better idea or a better plan, I don't mind. So Cascade Cat, I am 100% shareholder. So if there is a way that we can sell it for the community, the business, we can make it together. Even that much, I'm very open. So I don't mind. This is what I know today is the first meeting, but I did this previously with 2 people that they were having some plan. So I just want to make sure that when we start things, I like vegetable, I like herbs. At the same time, at this moment, to make any kind of decision for me, it's hard. Honestly, I'm not thinking right. This is what I can say. That's why I need your idea, and I'm writing notes, and whatever you have a solid idea, I will be open. This is a problem, but we can find a good solution. This is what I believe.
Yes, we can. Many hands.
True. Yeah.
So is Paul still? Yeah, Paul and Jane are still there. Brian, do we want to go on to talk about other ideas for the community? I would like to. Janet, will you talk about food forest since you are here?
Yeah. Well, Janet's unmuting. I would just say, like, one integral part of Paul's kind of design scenario is identifying mentors that can help other people get their gardens going. And so I think that would be, I mean, starts are one thing, right? But mentors are a primary second to that, because I mean, we run Inspiration Farm. We've been here 20-something years. We're getting tons of requests for information, for this and that, for seeds, for starts. And so, you know, to have like a bunch of qualified mentors, or a list of mentors that's like in your area that you can call for advice on things, that would be a good little database to kind of start putting together. That's my little 2 cents. Hey, Janet.
Hey there, Bruce. How are you?
Yeah.
So I don't really have an awful lot of input into food forests. I've only actually been a small-time backyard gardener, but food is incredibly important to me, and I'd like to be able to find a way to involve myself in a larger scale community project in which we're actually providing as much food for our own local community as we possibly can.
Yes,
So,
appreciate your sentiment, Janet.
thanks for that.
I'm happy to mentor people who are doing small-time backyard gardening, and happily have my phone number and email address out there for anybody who wants to contact me.
Okay, would you put that in the chat too? What you're willing to do?
Sure.
Thank you, Janet.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I would comment on that, the food forest issue. That's a really good thing in the long haul. There's a couple of issues with that. It's not good in the short haul. So it's like, you know, we're looking for caloric intake staple crops this year, like this year and next year.
Right.
So that we're talking about like grains, corn, beans, and grain, like wheat, barley, oats, those kind of grains. I'm working on rice trials to get some rice that we can grow in this neck of the woods. That's a ways off yet, but tree crops are great, but most of the tree crops that come in quickly are plum, cherry, you know, they're soft fruits. And so that, and they're sweet, you know, and they fill a beautiful niche, but they're not staple crops.
Right.
And they're good to start thinking about and putting in, but we're talking about like caloric, like potatoes and squash and beans, corn. I mean, they're annual crops. And in permaculture, you're always wanting to move towards a perennial crop, which is a nut tree. You know, nut trees are amazing. You need space and you need time. So to get a good, decent nut crop is like filbert nuts, hazel, you know, other hazelnut varieties, heart nuts, butternuts, chestnuts, walnuts, you know, all of those, onto pine nuts, which we all have growing here, and we've had growing for the last 20 years, but they're just now starting to come to bear. So they're long-term solutions to the annual predicament that we're in right now of needing to provide some caloric intake and proteins. So yes, in the long vision, think food forests. In the short vision, we need to get these starts in the ground in this year and next year, probably, for sure, of annual crops. That's my 2 cents. You're muted, Bern.
Thank you, Brian.
I see your lips moving, but
Thank you. So Bizu, how much space do you have that we could potentially turn into growing growing space for the community.
How much space and when? Again, I can have a space. Let's say if it is allowed me the law, as I told you, one of the greenhouse or two of the greenhouse, I can provide.
I guess I should be more specific. I meant ground space for growing.
Oh, ground space. I don't know. Probably I have more than 2 acres. I have, and also there's another 4 acre, but that is not mine yet. But I did rent that one for the next 1 year.
So
if there is
okay, so you have 6 acres available?
4 acres only for 1 year. I don't know if I purchase that acre. I did rental for this time. If I bought it, it's going to be mine. But if it's not, I have to deal with Paul, the previous owner. Probably he's the one with us. But this year and next year until 2021, 1 year, it's mine still. I did rent that one. But mine is I have 2 acres about.
Yeah, I would add that there is some time frame that's involved from putting raw ground into production. And so just to say that there's ground there doesn't mean that it can automatically be like entirely worked this year. So maybe it has to be, area designated and then a cover crop grown, or it disked or tilled or amended. I mean, there's a process that you have to go through to bring it into a production. If it's just like raw pasture or brambles, or I don't know the lay of the land there. And I know you have a fair bit of wetland area too there. So some of that, I mean, it may be whatever, 2 acres, but maybe only an acre and a quarter is usable. So it kind of depends. And when we ask about the greenhouse, I guess it's not that the community can use, it's like how much can you put in production so that you can sell it to us?
That is a good question. Again, it's going to determine how I'm going to sell this plant this year.
Yeah.
As I told you, it's worth about $700,000 worth and even more plants I have. So if I sell it, that one, I will change it right away to food production. I will have a working capital. I will keep my insurance, and I'm willing to work with community. But if I don't sell it, and I don't know what is going to happen next.
Yeah, I understand.
This is what I can say, yeah. But so these 2 months for me is going to make a big difference. The next month, the month of May, that is going to change for good, or it's going to change for bad. I don't know. But I am still, I have a positive in my heart that, food and, vegetable and herbs, even if I don't find a way this way, if I can have like a membership, or if community, if they become, paying first, and we can grow for them, if we have a membership or some kind of this kind of idea, if I have, I'm willing to continue the whole, let's say half of the greenhouse, it can be for vegetable and herbs.
Yeah.
I love flower, but I'm doing flower because of the previous owner were doing it, and that's the plant makes money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, it seems like there's just on the most recent aerial photos, a lot of the land was tracted recently. Bizu, do you know behind, or the space next to the trucks, that's all just been mown, right?
Yes, that Paul is talking?
Yes.
Yeah, you can come, you can stop by and you can look the place, but that one, the one is the truck that is the extra land I did for option buy.
Okay.
So that is a good land. We tried to grow garlic last year with my brother, and he started and he just left.
Right.
So that is a good place. And again, if there is a way that I can sell this, and if there is a way that I can buy that land, there is another opportunity for me.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there is a way that community, if we have a good plan, community can buy it, I don't mind, with the plan what you're doing. But that's a good place, yeah. Also, if you sit behind the greenhouse, also there is a good land. It would look like about 1 or 2 acres. I don't know which one is wetland or something like that, but we have that also behind the greenhouse.
The furthest greenhouses from the entrance all the way to the north?
When you come to I don't know what to say. But the behind the greenhouse, all the way when you go to the last one.
All the way to the last one, yeah.
Right, it's so behind until the tree and until the border, close to your place, there is a wetland, but behind to the tree, that is always very nice soil. And somebody come and they were trying to do soil study last time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good, that's a good one, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, maybe Jane and I'll come down and look around a little bit and talk with Tyler a little bit about some of those different potential growing spaces.
Sure. Yeah.
And then as far as moving your current inventory, I think looking into whether or not you could continue with the plant sale, but change the format dramatically to accommodate the whole virus thing.
Right.
But if there was ways, if the inventory went online and people were able to put together a list and then schedule a pickup time, pickup day or 3-hour block or something like that, where theirs could be packed and ready to go. And then talking with Brad, I don't think you would even need that much parking area. It would be more about turnaround and stacking up a line of cars versus the parking and getting out, but being able to do a little bit of a loop in his field and set off some ropes so that people could come down into the field, turn around.
Right.
And you could have 10 cars potentially fulfilling orders all at the same time.
Yeah, that's possible. Even if employee park on the other side to Brad, and also behind where we put trucks, we can park about 10 car or even more.
Yeah.
So we can leave the front door. It's possible. I was thinking up to 25 and 30 car can be parked.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I have the market, that is a possible ways. I see that there is a possible. Brad will allow me also behind employee they can park. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be about 18 or 20 spaces in the front of the greenhouse. Yeah.
And as far as a lot of that stock goes, you guys in years past usually buy in a lot of the material, like a lot of the 1 gallon pots and such. Are you able to not make those orders and sort of, I guess, not to pass the buck, but leave those at your whoever you're sourcing that plant material from?
Say it again.
As you guys get closer to your big sale, there's more and more filling out all the different spaces, and I'm wondering how many of those orders you would be able to cancel in advance of the sale. Like, are you contracted on any of those purchases? Or
it's not contracted. There is a pre-order. At the same time, we just Paul previously what he was doing it, the customer, they become more friendly. There is no agreements. and that's why they keep canceling. So there is no contract, no agreement. But if we can sell, let's say for community, we can sell, we can cancel because they will keep canceling. So it's not a problem that, yeah. But the planting another seed, another flower or something like that, I can take immediate action that one, not to grow more any other flower for summer if we needed more space. But still usually in the summertime there is spaces open. But if we are doing if you are doing greens year round, you know, we can cancel. I have some pre-order I have is all seeds until summer, and for next year we have to plan in July. So we can, yeah, if we can if you can come up with a good plan, we can cancel some of.
Yeah.
But I don't have any commitment.
Yeah. And I guess that's the you know, reducing the number of plants that you have to sell in order to better match the changing context of the spring sale.
Right.
Well, yeah, and there's plenty to sort through, but it seems like, or hopefully this was of or a insightful or somehow encouraging for you, Mizu.
It's a lot. I really appreciate that, honestly. For the last few days, I don't know what to do. And after I was saying that, okay, I'm just one person. And if God lets me to go through this, I will go. And I was just focusing with the residents. And now we have a good employee. They are committed. So I came now here and what to do to sell the plants. And people is in the big urgent, you know, buying food. Probably they don't have money or they need encouragement. You know, instead of sitting home, they can do gardening. And thinking longer term also, it is very important, thinking longer term also, focusing on green and building immune system. And that is also help for our community. And this is a good opportunity maybe for us to turn just immediately for vegetable and herbs. You know, this kind of things I am thinking. But for me, it is very hard to make any decision. So I need some advice. So I really appreciate you guys. I'm very happy. I'm thinking positive now.
Doing better than most of us.
I am doing really very well. I think that's helped me, you know, my poverty life and my refugee life. And I had a very, very tough time. So you guys, you need to be strong, you know. If you live a life, we can see, even, you know, with this a lot of days where I have, if I'm alive, I will pay. You know, I'm faithfully, I don't want to do some wrong ways. I don't want to take advantage from government. I'm very blessed. And just be strong, you guys, you know, be healthy. We die anyway one day. So just, you know, don't worry about dying. Just think about living.
So we're here in community to support you and support each other. And I just want to welcome Seth, who just joined us.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi, Seth.
Hello.
Are you having your drink and your nuts?
Oh, I wish I did. Take one. Bern, I'm sorry I missed most of the meeting. Perhaps we can talk offline, and I'd love to hear a overview of what you've been thinking.
Well, we've kind of gone halfway through. The biggest half was Bizu Getachew. She's from Cascade Cuts in Bellingham. She's the owner for the last 2 years. The business had been running for 39 years before. She would like to support community through growing seedlings, possibly providing some space, a couple of acres. Her orders are being canceled naturally by her retailers. and now she would like us to help her come up with an idea to move this inventory in the long term, in the short and long term view of growing vegetable or food seedlings.
Mhm.
So if I might just interject for just a moment and put a little broader context on this discussion. We started last week, or what was it, Saturday, I guess. And just, you know me, I'm a Inspiration Farm out near a Tools place, and been involved in the agriculture community for a long time here in Whatcom County. So we're just looking at how can we, as leaders in the agricultural community, provide resilience within our food shed for the coming years, because I see with not just the coronavirus issue, but with economic instability, shipping instability, and all of that stuff, we need to build a tighter food web right here in Whatcom County. And I have been a founder of Salish Seed Co-op, which is saving and storing seeds from the local food shed, along with Heather, who was here briefly for a moment. And I invited a couple other people. Anyway, so this is how the discussion started. Is like how, and I, as a farmer, I'm getting all kinds of requests, like a lot of requests. People want seeds and starts and information, and they want to get their hands in the dirt, and they want to create their own food resiliency, whether it's in their urban lot or in a community garden larger, or we're looking at opportunities of vacant land within the city that can be turned over to gardens. I mean, all of these things. And we're just, as leaders within the agricultural community in Whatcom County, we want to be able to provide a pathway forward for seeds, for starts, for mentorship, for gardeners that don't know exactly how to do it, and provide for our own local food resiliency here in Whatcom County. And primarily in the short term, looking at staple crops, long-term storage crops. So that's like corn, beans, squash, garlic, potatoes, those kind of things here within Whatcom County, but also culinary herbs, medicinal herbs, these kind of things that create our own health and well-being. So thanks for joining us, and that's kind of like it in a nutshell, and that's why we've like gathered these people together to have this discussion.
Good, thank you for that, Brian. I appreciate it. I like that vision. I'd be interested in continuing the discussion and learning how the city of Bellingham can be a partner in this effort.
Cool.
Hi, Seth. My name is Paul Kearsley. I live up on the north side of town. We have an 8-acre homestead and are also growers and involved in the food community. And yeah, if you are interested, we do have a little bit of a concept pulled together that's a little bit more refined.
Yeah, can you share that again, Paul?
Yeah, if it's, let me see.
Does your group have a name?
City Farms.
What is it?
Not yet.
No.
Paul's, we've got some working names.
Yeah.
Like Whatcom Food Resiliency, or Bellingham Food Collective, or
Yeah.
Collaborative City Farms.
Collaborative City Farms. I
So,
like that.
This is an outline for
CF.
a proactive production-oriented food security program. And it would be sort of the installation of a few small farms in and around the city. either in parks or open spaces that are publicly available. A brief walkthrough, there's a bunch of different issues with food security that are presenting themselves. Currently, a lot of the focus is on distribution, and the food bank is taking care of a lot of that, and the schools are taking care of a lot of that. But we're not clear what the future holds. But trying to look towards solutions that start to address production and sort of the growing of food inside the city for people who may not be employed any longer, or if this thing pans out into the fall and winter, there could be various different types of disruptions in the supply chain. And so, looking towards strategies that address food security from the production end versus what's currently happening, which tends to be a little bit more distribution based. We have a model that we've been working on. It's based off of a model out on Orcas Island, which is a collective of families growing staple crops on a shared piece of land. They've been doing it for 2 or 3 years, and it's been a pretty successful model. The gist is these garden mentors are skilled gardeners who train a group or a collective of different households. And the focus is on things like Brian was saying, storable staple crops like squash, dry beans, and potatoes. And the farmers get together early in the season and install the garden. This was kind of put together pre-virus, so there'd be a few call considerations. But then the maintenance of the garden is divided between the groups over the course of the summer. So there's weekly waterings and then a few different get-togethers to kind of manage weeds. But again, these crops are selected for their ease of care. And then the installation of these, this is photos from a garden in the Birchwood neighborhood that some friends and I installed a few years back. And this is just a demonstration of how quickly you can go from flat grass into productive vegetable production. The whole process, could largely be taken care of in the course of a couple of days. There are considerations such as fencing and irrigation systems, soil amendments, seeds and starts, and so on, but a lot of them are covered. And I used to be a landscape contractor, and so the idea here is this would be sort of a base model for a garden. They run about $1,000 for 5,000 square feet of installation, but could likely produce around 1,200 pounds of food, and would be grown by the community for the community. And then a last kind of note, coming to something like this is kind of can seem big, but at the same time, these gardens are fairly temporary. So they could go into a small park like park or something like that, where there's just large flat grassy areas and access to a water system. Could have a garden thrown up and installed, grow a couple thousand pounds of food, and then provided we get back to normal by sometime next year, the whole thing could just be turned back into sod and become a soccer field again. So this is kind of a model we've been working on in terms of, this urban production concept in the food security thing. And there's, a bunch of different dimensions to it, but we've been, trying to figure out how this would work best. And the city's an interesting one just in terms of real estate and various other resources. But there's a lot of big open grassy patches that belong to the city. We've also been talking with Common Threads Farm, who runs the school gardens. And the schools also have big open grassy patches that could be converted easily. So, kind of trying to explore that conversation with either the various superintendents or principals, or whoever might be the ones to answer that question. But that's kind of the model, and happy to share it with you.
Cool. Is this something I can go to online?
Not yet, but I'd be happy to send it to you if you're interested.
Yeah.
This is early draft as well.
Can you share that? Isn't it a Google Doc? Can you share it, the Google Doc link in the chat on the side?
It is, or not this exact document. That one's a little bit more rough. And there are some names in there that I just wouldn't want to accidentally commit anybody.
Okay,
to anything.
I get it. Okay.
Can I give you my email address?
Yeah, put it in the chat on the sidebar. There's a chat button at the bottom, and then you can see everybody's chat, and there's all kinds of links and emails and stuff on the sidebar.
Oh,
Okay.
Seth, I forgot to tell you, we are recording this.
Ah.
Yes.
You're on record, dude.
Uh-oh. I'm just
So-
doing this from my iPhone, so I don't know if I've got the chat
You
bar
know
on the
what?
right.
I can do it for you. You want to tell it? You want to tell me?
Oh, here it is.
Well, Bern, if you're recording this, it saves the chat, the video, the audio, all as separate files, so you can like share that.
It's pretty easy, Bern. It's just smfleetwood@cob.org.
Okay. Do that again.
smfleetwood@cob.org.
Can somebody write that? Somehow I can't get into
I'll
it.
send it to you, and you can forward it on.
Okay.
I'm
So
sure we can find it.
my version or vision of the same thing that Paul has just presented to you, but on a neighborhood scale, is concept of friendship gardens, where neighbors get together to offer each other space and time to garden each other's gardens and share produce and have joyful events around the things and develop friendships. And I've done that for 2 years with some friends up in Ferndale. And it's been a real joy. From someone who didn't know how to grow anything, I am experimenting and successful with vegetables that I didn't even know existed.
Mhm.
And enjoying learning how to grow them and cook them. And it's a growth process. It's a therapeutic process, and it's built strong friendships among us.
Yeah, if I might add, just on the broader scope of gardens. So gardens are where like communities begin. So it's where people can congregate and share ideas. I mean, it's so much more than food. I mean, right now we're thinking about food and supply chains and all the rest of this stuff. Which is all really good stuff to be thinking about. I mean, I design stuff from a permaculture standpoint, where you try and create redundancy in your system, you try and create resiliency, try and look at any pitfalls in the future and provide for the next, ideally 7 generations, right? That's what Indigenous elders talked about, and I totally embody that. But it's more about building community. And so when you build community, you build networks that may extend way outside the garden and into support systems, support structures, other networks, whatever, commerce, et cetera, et cetera. So in permaculture, you look at things, there's 8 forms of capital. So there's economic capital that everybody looks at as capital, like I have so much money in the bank, whatever. But then there's intellectual capital, there's physical capital, there's spiritual capital, there's all these other forms of capital that you get goodwill within your community. And the garden is the place you can share all that capital with each other. And in this time, I really, as much as I hate the whole coronavirus thing, it's really a time for us to look inside and also to look at our network and how we bond together with each other to build this strength that some of it may be outside of the system, some of it's working within the system that's already established, but there is a way that we can, I know a lot of people are more concerned about the economic implications of this whole thing we're in than just isolation part of it. But if you look at all these 8 forms of capital and how can you leverage the other forms, not the monetary form, but your intellectual part, your spiritual part, your knowledge, your space, all these other parts, then that grows a stronger community and a more resilient community. And so so Bill Mollison, who's the founder of permaculture, he said, all the world's problems can be solved in a garden, right? So it's like every single problem, whether you want to be a mathematician or a writer, or you have this, this or that problem, everything is resolved in a garden, because the garden represents how nature resolves complicated issues. And so, yes, we solve potential food issues in our county, but we also build a stronger community. So that's why I'm invested in this process, because it will build a stronger community, and it will allow people to acknowledge their other forms of capital, their knowledge, the skills, their connections, their viewpoints.
I like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's my daughter.
Um,
I'm gonna.
I think very similarly to Brian, in that I believe we've become so alienated from each other with the pace of life that I believe gardens can bring us back to friendship. There's a common need for good organic food, and it's one of our birthrights as humans to eat well. And with the current uncertainty about even the usual labor coming in from Mexico and all the viruses that may come with it, I've heard the Whatcom Farmers Association talking about possibly restricting that labor in. But like Brian says, this is a process of growth over a few years to become a sustainable community. And we're talking about Whatcom County as a whole.
My sense is that there's a great, an increased desire for it. And maybe that's an impression I have just based on my associations with some people that grew out of, I was very involved in the 4 and 5 years ago in the effort to renew the Greenways levy. And every time there's a new Greenways levy, there's always some re-envisioning of what the next iteration of Greenways funding should be. And the last one that we had 4 years ago was included a number of people that were very enthused about making Greenways money eligible for community gardens. And I understand that your group is talking, I sense, about more than just community gardens, but that's what sort of filled my mind up with just the idea of it. I've always supported having a more resilient, sustainable, green environmental infrastructure in Bellingham and in the future. But I'm very enthused and inspired by the idea of being able to better utilize all these places that we have where we could be growing food. I suspect many of you are familiar with the urban garden in the York neighborhood on James Street that they have, that they're able to get some property that I think was owned by the Washington State Department of Transportation. You got this beautiful garden there and all sorts of amazing ideas about things they can do there. So I like this. I very much want to be supportive if I can. And I should tell just the quickest story about 2 weeks ago, a man who had wanted to come and see me actually in January finally had an appointment. It was maybe 3 weeks ago. It was right before everything sort of started to shut down. But he came in. It turns out he was a man who I knew 40 years ago working in a restaurant when we were both teenagers. But he wanted to urge me to be, his name is Chris Harrington, and he was urging me to make Bellingham a bee city and a bee and a pollinator city. And he told me all about it, and I was so excited about it. And I'm going to do that. It's related to this, of course, but different. But the idea of creating this vast network of pollinator gardens all over Bellingham. So anyway, I hope I can be supportive.
Yeah.
In my part.
So that is so cool. I love the pollinator story. That really resonates with everything within the permaculture mindset. So as I kind of mentioned earlier before you came on, there's kind of, there's multiple, nature always has multiple tracks of how she implements things. Nature's always providing. So nature is abundant. And so along the lines of greenways, like,
and right now she's showing who's boss.
Yeah, right. Well, and it's like we gotta it's a wake-up call. So it's just wake-up call. But along the lines of greenways, like all the greenways could be turned into food forests. So we could have nut trees and fruit trees and berry bushes and all this stuff. All that money that goes into maintaining greenways could be putting in productive plant species all along all greenways. And that also becomes a pollinator highway for all the bees and the butterflies and all the rest of it. But there's also this need for like short-term annual crops that provide sustenance. So I would be curious to see if there has been done, or if there could be done, an inventory of city land that's just laying idle. It might be like, I was thinking like the edge of some of the soccer fields, or the edge of some there's all kinds of random idle properties that are otherwise being maintained by some landscaper or something that could be like taken over and stewarded by the local community that lives there. So there's kind of several tracks. So there's kind of the long-term track of like established food forests, nut trees, fruit trees, berry bushes, all that kind of stuff that everyone can kind of harvest and glean from. And then there's the short-term track of people needing some arable ground that they can get like an annual crop put in. So I'm curious about ground that the city might have that would be suited for that. And then also the possibility of starting to transition all the bike lanes and paths on the greenways area into more productive species along the way.
When I get off this call, I'm going to do what is my new thing when I hear an idea that I need to record or remember, and I'll email my assistant and ask her to put on the what we call our check-in board, the reminder to check with our park staff and find out if we could get an inventory as you just described, Brian. I like that idea.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be every single thing. Like, oh, here's like 3 low-hanging fruit pieces of property. Like, what can we put into production this spring?
Mm-hmm. Is John Bleffin a part of this group?
I know him. He hasn't joined us yet.
Okay.
I did invite him, and I did invite Chris Harrington as well.
Oh, you know Chris?
Yeah, he's a member of our little Facebook group there, the Garden of Life.
Okay, great.
I spoke with John this morning in a conversation with Laura Plout from Common Threads, and ran this idea by him, and he was going to take it to parks to kind of further the conversation. And we're also considering bringing Tim Wall into the conversation about available in the Greenway inventory. And I think I've emailed you, Seth, the document that I just shared. It was to SM Fleetwood. And so, yeah, it's an early draft, but feel free to flip through, and any feedback that you have would be welcome.
Okay, that sounds good. Please forgive me. I've got something I need to go to at 7, and I need to run. But if you have another meeting like this, please reach out, and I'll join if I can. I'll review that document you sent, and let us stay in touch. And
Thank you. Thank you very much, Seth.
Oh, thanks for thinking of me. Good to hear from you. All right.
You know, it's a fresh beginning for you, and it's nice to be able to listen to the community voices.
Yes, it is. Indeed, it is. And we'll get through this, and there'll be a hopefully happy new and better day. So I hope we can work on these issues and make it happen.
Thank you, Seth.
All right. Take care all. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
See you later. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Heather. Where's Heather?
She's there with a fake name.
Heather, you're bouncing around.
Yep.
He had something to say to Seth, and I just saw it now. I'm sorry, Heather. In the chat.
Awesome, you guys are prepared.
Oh yeah, well, I'm just reading the chat. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Heather's giving us the view of the lake.
Beautiful.
So I'm gonna keep listening in, but I gotta move around some more. So I'll shut it. The video and the
Well,
mute.
I don't know how much else we have to talk about. Paul, Bruce, Brian?
Well, I would just say in closing, it was really good that everyone could join us. I think we've got a good nucleus of potential starts. I was really happy that Bizu could join us and share her troubles and inspiration and trials.
And dream.
And everyone else that could join us. Paul, thank you so much for pulling kind of a bunch of random thoughts together and putting it down on paper that we can share and can make sense with other people. You're really awesome at that. I was really happy that Seth could join us at the end. I think he's going to be a strong ally in this whole endeavor. And I've known him for quite a number of years, and he'll do what he can within the constraints of a role in office. And yeah, I look forward to the unfolding of this process.
Thank you,
Likewise.
Brian.
Yeah.
I wanted to share, Heather, you're still there, yeah, with your fake name. I
Yeah,
wanted to
what's this, Ali?
Yes, it's Prafali. That's my Sanskrit name. I'm listening.
Oh, thank you. Well, Heather shared something with me which I wanted to share, and it came from her herbal teacher. Do you want to say it, Heather? Your herbal teacher, Yarrow Willard?
What? Go ahead and share. It was a link that he
Okay.
posted outside. It was wonderful and very hopeful, stressing the healing capacity on the earth with the plants and the fungi and the other life form communities. Go ahead, Bern.
Okay. So he's your herbal teacher, Yarrow Willard, and he says, may we spend daily time outside, barefoot on the earth, and co-creating more community, medicinal and edible gardens.
Oh yeah, my
may we-
word. In front of
also-
his video. Yep.
May we share our abundance and share our courage. Oh, it was your words.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
me speaking through the written word.
That was very nice.
Thanks for sharing that.
Sure, that was very nice. Thank you, Heather. And I just want to, if anybody wants to add anything, I would like to end with just a thank you, which I was supposed to speak in the beginning of, but is there anything else?
I just want to say thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Honestly, I am so lifted by your encouragement and support. I'm also, that is in my heart, even from long time ago, before I see this coronavirus and the challenge. And I believe that, with the idea that you have, I need your support. And I just want to say thank you. And we can make a difference, I believe, in this time. Lots of people, they get depressed, but we are coming up with a solution. So this is a good way of life. So thank you so much. Yeah.
Right. When should we next meet?
Any days.
I'll leave it up to you. Maybe weekly, or just pick the same time, same channel.
Tuesday.
Yeah, there was talk of a meeting this weekend, wasn't there, Brian? Or was that one?
Yeah. So yeah. In these changing times, like there's a lot of Zoom meetings getting scheduled. So I for the Whatcom Permaculture meetup group, I've scheduled it every Friday at 6 o'clock. So if we stay at kind of the same time, so this could be the what'd you call it, Paul? The Bellingham Farm
City Farms.
Yeah. Group, then, or Bern called it the community, whatever, something. Anyway, this could be another meeting at another set time.
Okay.
Then it's like, I don't know if that's the best way or not, but that's my thought.
Okay. I just realized I'd put schedule something for that time on Friday. I'll take mine off so that you can use this room.
Well, we don't need to necessarily. I can do it on my own thing. It doesn't need to be long. It's just like a quick check-in.
Okay. So should this group meet next Tuesday, or do we need to meet earlier?
Let's call it Tuesday, and if something pops up, we can adapt.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Here's some takeaways that I got from this evening.
Okay.
It was really good to make the connection with you, Bizu, and
Thank
be
you.
able to make your needs known to the community, and maybe we can brainstorm on how we can clear some bench space in your greenhouses so you can start doing starts for gardens.
Sure.
You know, the other, like working with ground and stuff, you and Paul can talk about what the best
Okay.
way forward for that is. We don't need a big group for that.
Okay.
And then a really good part is also planting the seed, so to speak, with Seth in finding what community space is available. The more community space is available means more sales for you, you know?
Sure.
So that they need starts right off out of the gate, you know, as soon as the ground is ready. So that's just showing opportunity there. And so I think, like, I'd be willing to follow up with Seth midweek and see where he's at with finding some of those spaces. I think also possibly a way to move forward is, so there's neighborhood groups, and they meet on a regular basis, and maybe they're meeting by Zoom now. So there's like York neighborhood and Sunnyside and all these other neighborhoods in Bellingham, and they've organized into help groups right now. We could put a shout out and say, we're looking for opportunities within your neighborhoods to be able to establish community gardens. And then again, compile a list of mentors, and there's a whole bunch in the chat line there, Burn, so make sure you save that chat, and we might need to pull out all the people that said they're willing to be mentors and put that on a list. And then with the neighborhood groups, we can say, we have these mentors, who in your space needs mentors, that kind of thing.
Right. That's nice. Yeah.
So
those are kind of some ways forward, and something we can do between now and the next meeting. And then, yeah, I'd still, to be able to help you, Bizu, more focused. I don't know what exact plants you have or who your market is normally or any of that stuff. So it sounds like you've been talking with some marketers. And actually, in all transparency, Jamie, your employee that does most of the propagation,
Right.
she lives here at Inspiration Farm. And so I've heard a little bits here and there from her, but yeah, I just don't know how best, like certain plants need to be marketed to certain people, and I just don't know what you have. So
Okay.
if you had a list of that, then maybe we could help more.
Okay. I will provide that. I will put my phone number. If you have time, you can call me, or we can talk, or you can talk to Jamie. But this is another challenge I have is now at this moment, I don't have a salesperson, but I'm dealing with the marketer and sales, you know, the office manager and the manager, they are selling. So we will probably, when you have free time, you can call me, or you can, and I will provide that the list what I have. So when we are planning by next week or the following, I will make a decision to do this marketing and community and set it up the website. So we're gonna start that way. Hopefully we'll sell stuff. I'm hoping. Yeah, at the same time, I'm hoping that next month things are gonna be changed. But with the reality, I doubt that people,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard.
Yeah. Day by day.
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brian.
Yeah.
One last thing. Anything else? Okay. I was supposed to do this in the beginning, and I apologize. So I wanted to acknowledge that we are gathered, and this is in thanks now. We are gathered on the traditional, ancestral, unceded lands of the Coast Salish peoples, the Squamish, the Itzel, the Watut, and the Musqueam nations. Aishka, that means thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, see you next Tuesday, and see you on your Saturday. Whatcom Gardeners Permaculturalist, 6 o'clock.
Yeah. I hope that works for everyone. We'll try it this time. Go from there.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Yeah.
for hosting, Bern.
You're
thanks for
welcome.
hosting.
Thank you so much.
See you all. Have a good week.
So, Paul, are you in?
Oh, what's
When
that?
do you think is he left, Paul?
He's there.
Yeah.
Can you stop by some days? We can talk more in detail if you're around here. I'm at Cascade Cut right now, but you come tomorrow or next day.
Yeah. What time are you there?
I will be here from morning tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. We'll swing down when we get a chance.
Yeah, we'll talk from far.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. Have a good night. Thanks, Brian.
Bye. Thank you.
Right, Paul. You know, I just realized these are my big social groups nowadays.
That's very nice.
It is becoming increasingly difficult to, obviously we're not meeting and talking to people, but this is great. So appreciate it all.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.